So you're thinking about relocating to the Bryan-College Station area. There are some things that you do need to know. And especially if you're looking at the cost of living. Now, we relocated here from another state, specifically Jonesboro, Arkansas. So I'm going to use that a little bit as a stomping ground so that can help you understand what are the things you need to be expect, what actually things we love, and what were some things were actually more than what we expected. So first thing is the smaller city, big city access. This is a pro. Bryan-College Station, it doesn't feel like a big city. I mean, it takes you maybe 20 to 30 minutes to get from one side of town to the other side of town. You're not cut off from like the restaurants, your shopping, healthcare, entertainment, Texas A&M. It's just not a college football stadium. We had the World Cup FIFA tournament here. So you have sporting events of all reach. And then coming from someone like Jonesboro, Arkansas, I mean, that was a big, big difference for me, my wife, and my kids. Now, it feels bigger and it's busier, but it's still manageable. So when you think about something like Houston, and you think about Austin, which is not far away. Houston is about, depending on how far you go into Houston, about downtown from the College Station side gets you about an hour and a half. Now, when you have Austin, a little bit further, and especially going to the outskirts. So if you're coming from a smaller southern city, Bryan-College Station is going to be a good middle ground for you. And it give you that small town, but still have that major metropolitan area. Now, if you're coming from a bigger city and you say, hey, I want access, but I'm done with it, this is also being a good fit for you. However, let's talk about some of the cons. Now, once again, this is me comparing from where I came from. The biggest thing that we weren't prepared for, the average price point in Bryan-College Station is right around that $320 to $340 price point. Now, where we came from Jonesboro, when we were looking at the stats, I'm like, man, I think it was lower than that. But it was over 55% higher when it comes to a cost of living as opposed for here. So you look at an average mortgage that ranges around 22 to 2,500. When it comes to a mortgage, where we was at, it was maybe like 1,500. Now, if you didn't come from a small town, that may be a pro for you, but for us, it was a huge difference. It was close to over $1,000, depending on how you land and wherever you're at. Didn't mean that you couldn't find something affordable. However, one of the things that I've learned as I've talked and helped several people on this channel is you need to be able to be ready for the adjustment. Now, here's a pro. Now, you have College Station and you have Bryan. No, Bryan is like another option. So most people know about College Station. College Station is what most people come here for. Texas A&M, either you're working there or you have family who works there, or you are here from some sporting events. Most of the time, as a former athlete, I get a chance to connect with former athletes as well. And with Bryan and College Station being close to each other, it's not the same thing. The beautiful thing is you don't have to limit yourself to College Station. It's different budgets depending on if you want to stay in College Station and Bryan. And depending on the lifestyle you want, depending on if you want to be more around established neighborhoods and a difference from a new construction neighborhood. Now, they have both. However, you'll see different layouts that are in Bryan that you won't get in College Station. So that I love because you still, once again, you get what you get in College Station. But man, if you say, I want to move to a different area, you literally get another opportunity to explore that by actually going to Bryan. Now, here is some of the cons. And this is a shocker, I think, for most people when you come here. And this is probably the biggest conversation I think most people have. When you have someone like myself, we moved from Arkansas. Texas has no state individual income taxes, but you still have property taxes, which is significantly higher. So from most of the time, you're going to get anywhere in that 2% amount, mid to high, when it comes to taxes on your property here. You have College Station, you have Brazos County, and then you have College Station's tax rate. And like I said, that you may find someone closer underneath that 2%, but it's going to be a very high, like 1.8, 1.9. And that's something before checking, and you need to make sure you have like a mud district, right? And mud district is an additional tax that you can get on top of whatever neighborhood you live in. So that's something to really take in consideration. Like we did a video in Southern Point, and Southern Point is a great neighborhood, but not only do they have property taxes, but they have one of the mud districts as well that I'm referring to. So you always are going to have to be able to pay more from that tax perspective. And to be honest with you, this is probably, I think, like I said, one of the biggest cons, depending on where you're coming from. But the pros is I kind of already mentioned that. So when you look at Texas not having any state sales tax, this is huge for somebody who is an investor or somebody who wants to be able to make their money grow longer. Is when we was in Arkansas didn't have that. It's not that Texas is more expensive. It really just matters on your individual situation. And most people who relocate here, you're coming here for work. You're coming here for reasons that's going to benefit you, whether it's a career move or if you're here for sports and you're in campus, you probably don't care about most stuff that I'm talking about. However, it's super important to keep in mind some of those benefits. So here's the third con is that rent is higher too. So rent doesn't escape the difference. So the median rent in this area, to be honest, I have seen, if I looked at the stats, it told me $11.94, but to be honest, I've seen rent go up to $1,700, up to almost $2,000. Now, in Jonesboro, Arkansas, you would be lucky to find something around $1,000. So well over 25% higher. And the actual rents that you're having does matter to the approximate of where you are at College Station. So most people who want to live in a actual house that's probably a mile from campus, you can pay the upper amount of $1,300 for one room. Yes, that's right. One room. And then depending on when you move in, just an inside tip is that when you are somebody that needs to be able to find a place and you're coming in the rent season, which is right when school start, the cycle here for rentals does not go from January to December. It goes from August to the end of July. So if you're trying to find something towards the end of summer, it's going to be sometime pretty hard, or you're going to have probably the highest rental rates. So you just got to be careful if that's a thing for you. But that was something that really caught us off guard, and why we made this channel to help you understand, listen, it's better to buy than rent. Now here's a pro. Texas A&M is an economic engine. You can't talk about College Station without talking about Texas A&M. It drives the housing market. It drives the restaurant. It drives employees. It drives the military connection household, investors. It drives the business. So here's the beautiful thing that I do love, is that because Texas A&M have a great alumni program, if you don't know anything about Texas A&M, I promise you, you will embrace the cultures. I have people who have relocated here because they went to school and they say, you know what? I love the environment. I love being here. I want to have my home here. And so we've had people who got bought their second home, by their retirement home in this area just because of the ongoing thing that Texas A&M does offer. Before I get to this next one, here's the thing that most people are not going to tell you, and here's a con. Texas A&M traffic on game day, just clear the streets. Now, Texas A&M does not have a lot of major highways. So if you're from a metropolitan cities like myself, even though we moved from Arkansas, I was born and raised originally in Houston. If you're like from the Dallas, Houston area, and you're somebody who used to toll roads, you don't have that. So you have some of the main streets. You have University, and that is where you have University, you have George Bush, then you have Wellborn. And so you have like a square around Texas A&M. Now, they are doing a lot of construction right now in 2026. It's August when I'm recording this, but you're going to have a couple of years at this point where they're expanding the highways because they're expecting a huge increase. So with that, traffic on game day. So think about Texas A&M holds 100,000 people in one stadium. They hold more than that. And I went to a game. It was like a record. It was a record of almost 110 people in one stadium. Talk about the 12th man. Okay, so here's a pro, is that it's a lot of home selections. And that's the beauty that I do love. If your budget is from $320, or you'll want to be able to get something in the maybe 1.5 or maybe 2 million, or if you want to just be able to find something inexpensive or an investment property or just your first time home, and you want to go as low as maybe 250. I love the variety that they have. And what we do here, we really highlight some of the median homes and higher on this page. So make sure if that's you and you know you want to be able to speak with us and finding some specific, of course, you can be able to take a look at some more of our videos, but we always encourage you reach out, because if you see something or you have more questions based off of this, our job is to be able to speak with you. So send us an email or connect with us on Zoom so that we can talk more about some of your specific situation. Now, here's a con. Now, $300,000, it does not buy you as much as you expected to buy when you're coming to College Station. I think the real point I really want you to understand with this is, if you're coming here, you need to really think about lifestyle, accessibility to your shopping and environment. You really need to understand that first if you're relocating here before you look at the price, because once again, you'll be surprised. $300,000 is not going to get you as much if you're somebody that have a full family, or if you're somebody who maybe wants to have a different experience, especially if you're relocating here from just a different area. It really does depend, but I'm telling you, I was surprised, our home was above the $300,000 price point. So I'm just warning you, make sure you know what you're looking for, because that really helped you really narrow down what areas, Bryan-College Station, you want to look in. Now, here's a pro tip. Bryan-College Station is growing. We have some recent news that SpaceX is not in Bryan-College Station, just so you know that. It's in Grimes County, which is about 30 minutes away from here, but that overflow is going to come into College Station. So on top of that, you have constant commercial growth. It's a lot of development that's going on in some of the metropolitan buildings that they're going to be improving. The city of Bryan has done massive renovations. So Midtown Cordova is the connection between Bryan and College Station, and they've invested millions just in the Lincoln Legend Center. You have the Top Golf in that area. You have movie theater, but Legends bring in a lot of tournaments. So if you play volleyball or you travel here, like Puma had a tournament here for basketball. They have a lot of events, and that's the beautiful thing, because you have those people coming in. And so it's constantly growing. And even on the outskirts, if you're somebody who wants to maybe be able to find you a home that's just on an acre or more, growth cut both ways. Okay. With construction growth, you have a lot of road construction here. And once again, here's the thing that sucks, is that when you don't know some of the back roads, you just have to take the main road. If it's 4 or 5 o'clock on Texas 6, and you are trying to get out of town, maybe you're commuting from Houston, or maybe you live on College Station, and you're trying to get from Bryan to College Station, and sometimes, depending on the time of day, it's the other way around. Well, right now it's 2-lane highways, and I have to say, when you're doing construction, I have found many times when I realize, hey, they've cut off certain exits right now. So the exit that I was not used to, it closed, and so now I have to drive on the feeder much longer before I can get on the highway on certain places. So because of that construction, and it's not a wide options of a way to drive, that construction growth and pain, you have to make sure you're scheduling better. Now, this is, once again, someone who's coming from a smaller town. If you're coming from a metropolitan area, this may be a pro, but it was a con, because when the city is growing, you need it to be supported with the proper construction, and they're doing a good job to do that. And so I think, let's talk about another pro is College Station is great for families. It is several different areas. Now, for somebody like us who we actually homeschool, so once again, the lifestyle you choose is super important. So without the scales of what Houston and Dallas, you have great parks, you have activities, you have a lot of events that Texas A&M put on for students, where they can be able to come out, they can be able to play, and they have a lot of what's called green spaces. So like one of the areas that we love to go to is Century Square, because they hold different events. Sometimes you can watch movies on the green space. Sometimes they have live music, usually weekly, most of the time on Friday. I love going there because they have some good talent there. And it's right there by the George Hotel. So if you're relocating and you come in and you stay at a hotel, you stay at the Century Square, you can get a beautiful feel. And I think we did a video on Century Square just to kind of see, and it's growing. Top Golf is there, so it's great for kids. It's literally right across the street from Texas A&M. So if you have students or you have family who's coming here, then that's a great chance to be able to go there and be close to campus, but also kind of be off campus. So, but either other green spaces that they have, Stella Hotel, beautiful area in a tradition neighborhood that you can stay at that hotel, have a beautiful overview of a lake, and then they have a lot of green spaces there. And it's, you know, they have a lot of sporting. You have a lot of community events that does go on for kids that they're holding. And of course, neighborhood selection does matter because most neighborhood has amenity centers, and they also have a lot. This is pretty cool. If you like fishing, you need to make sure you check out certain neighborhoods that give you a chance to be able to catch and release. Or if you're just somebody who likes water, some of the homes and lots are sitting where the backyard does see. You can be able to see the water. So I think about places like Stella Ranch. I think of places like Mission Ranch. I think these are communities that sometimes they're in a pocket and you don't even know anything about it until you actually drive there. So now here's a con. I'm going to tell you, this may not be a surprise to you. And for somebody who grew up in Texas, coming from Arkansas, I had to get used to this. I'm going to tell you a funny story when it comes to the con. So the summer here, right now in August, you're going to get a consistent 95 to about 100 degrees. Now, the Texas heat is heat. Now, because we lived in Arkansas at the time, you don't have what is called humidity. So, of course, I'll get to the cost wise, but I think this story is important. I remember 9 o'clock at night, it was still over 90 degrees because it's not dry heat. You have humidity heat, what makes you feel sticky sometimes. So that's a con. Now, granted, you do have bills, and they're bills that can range anywhere from $200 to $300 on utility alone. So, and you only have, depending if you're in College Station or if you're in Bryan, you only have one utility company. So it's going to be pretty easy to know what you're going to get. So you probably want to find some efficiencies, and when it comes to homes and how they're built, insulation, just a lot of different things that help the efficiencies of homes. That's super important. Now, here's a con. Your car actually matter here because don't get me wrong, it's things around campus you can walk, but the thing that sucks is that if you're not in those walkable areas, it's really not. They have city transportation, but I've realized that if you're on the outskirts or you're in certain areas, especially if you're not a college student that needs to be on a bus route, it is hard to be able to get from one side or another because everything is a little congested in Bryan and College Station. Like, it matters to actually have cars. Now, we have Ubers and we have like other form of transportation, but it makes a huge difference if you needed to go from Bryan to College Station. And because we have really like one main highway that passes all the way through, you got to think about commuting and your commute. That's important. Now, I've seen people relocate here and they use bikes or they'll use scooters, and they have like a scooter shop here off of University if you chose that you wanted to go that route. So that's the thing that I think people do leave out. Like, it's super important. Now, most people that I find, you're either 50-50. You've moved over to like a smaller town, and this is just, you like the culture, you like the environment. I get it. So here's the truth. Who is Bryan-College Station for? And I think Bryan-College Station is great for someone who wants to be in a growing Texas community. Access to Texas A&M, something smaller than your Austin, than your Houston, your San Antonio, your Fort Worth, but have new construction options, have investment opportunities, and you have room to breathe. So if you're relocating for A&M, for healthcare, for work, or family or business, then I think it'll be good for you. So who is College Station not for? So if it's top priority that you be able to have your rock bottom costs to live in here, you want to be able to have the big city nightlife. You want to be able to live car free. You want cool summers. And you want to squeeze out the absolute max. And when it comes to housing and your budget, know the trade-off going in. So if this does sound like you and everything we mentioned, we help people every week when they're relocating to the Bryan-College Station area. And it's important for us to help you navigate Bryan or College Station. So make sure you reach out, send us an email, book a Zoom call. We probably have our Google link up, but book a call with us. We want to meet you. We want to see you, and we want you to get a chance to get more specific details for what you need. Now, as I say, think about when we relocated here from, of course, us was Jonesboro, Arkansas. Okay. And we stayed there for 14 years. The biggest adjustment really for us was just really cost of living and taxes. Okay. So for you, maybe that's different. Maybe you have a different story, but maybe some of these pros or cons you agree with, maybe you don't agree with. But when we move, I realized that a lot of things did make sense for us and some things didn't make sense. And we was, it was kind of blindsided. So my hope and goal is that as you got a chance to be able to listen to this is be able to answer some questions for you that you were already pondering in coming and relocating to the Bryan-College Station area. So if you're thinking about moving within the next month, the next couple of months, please make sure you reach out. It's my heart and goal to be able to assist you and answer some of the questions that you have when it comes about relocating to the Bryan-College Station area. And one of our mottos here is that we love to impact and be able to embrace your legacy. So your legacy begin when your excuses end. And if you're ready to start looking and take a look at some home tours, take a look at this video so you can get a chance to see what is one of the homes and neighborhoods that you may be considering if you're already thinking about relocating here. Talk to you next time.